everyone, today we're talking about the life of Rizal, especially from the topic how life of Rizal in Europe and how propaganda's movement. And I'm your teacher Jasper.
Teacher Condesa. Teacher Danica.
Rizal in Europe. First journey in Europe. May 1, 1882, Jose Rizal left the Philippines without permission from his parents. It was only Pasiano, Antonio Rivera, and his friend Chengoy and family of Orang who know about his departure. Before Rizal left Philippines, his brother handed him $56 that he would use for his travel. His passport using the name Jose Mercado and a first-class ticket for the cruise Salvadora. May 2, 1882, he visited the family of Orang. Orang's mother gave him a can of cookies called sopas and a box of chocolate that he would consume for his travel. The night before he left, he had the opportunity to talk Orang Valenzuela. And May 11, 1882 at 5 o'clock, he heard Mass at Santo Domingo Church, and then Chengoy, Antonio Rivera, and his cousin Gela accompanied him to Dr. Magellan's monument. He rode the Cruz Salvadora, and as the ship started to leave Manila, Jose became emotional because he was not able to say goodbye to his parents and to Leonor Rivera. And May 8, 1882, their cruise reached Singapore. He stayed at Hotel de la Paz. On May 11, 1882, he rode the cruise of Zenma going to Ceylon, old name of Sri Lanka. His ticket was first class, so he would enjoy the first class cabin with carpeted floor, bed with springs, curtain, and wash basin. Most of the passengers of the cruise was French, and because of this, Jose Rizal practiced the French language that he learned during his Ateneos days. But he knew that he needed to study more to become fluent in the language. They reached Ceylon on May 17, 1882. From Ceylon, they traveled to North Africa, and Rizal described Africa as a country with a hot climate. Then they traveled to Suez Canal for 5 days. Their next stopover was in Port Said in Egypt. In this place, Rizal observed the multicultural since he saw different people speaking different language like Arabic, Greek, Italian, Spanish, and Egyptian. June 11, 1882, Zemna reached Naples in Italy. Rizal admired the panoramic beauty by the bay and the cruise reached Marseilles. He enjoyed his tour in the city because he wanted to visit the place of his favorite writer Alexander Dumas. After 3 days, he traveled to Barcelona using train. June 16, 1882, he reached Barcelona, and he learned that he ran out of cash and the money that left to him was only 7 pesos, which was not enough to rent dormitory. So he used the letter of recommendation that his teacher from Ateneo handed to him. The Jesuit in Barcelona helped him and lent him money. Because of the insufficient of money, he rented dormitory in Barcelona that cost 11 pesos only. Life of Jose Rizal in Barcelona and Madrid. His former classmate in Ateneo who resided in Madrid prepared a party for Rizal which was held at Plaza Cataluna. And while waiting for the starts of their classes, he wrote an essay which reflected how love and misses his country. He wrote his first nationalistic essay in Barcelona entitled El Amor Patrio. This essay was published in Diaryong Tagalog on August 20, 1882, and was translated in Tagalog by Marcelino H. Del Pilar. November 3, 1882, Rizal was enrolled in Universidad Central de Madrid and under the course of Medicine and Philosophy in Letters. However, he also enrolled in Academy of Fine Arts of San Fernando for painting and also traveled to different historical places and museums. Mi Piden Versos. In his stay in Madrid, he also joined the Círculo Hispano-Filipino, an organization of Filipino and Spaniards who wanted to ask for reform from the government, and under the organization, he wrote the Mi Piden Versos. In short, they asked me for verses. A poem which showed the sadness of the son art who lived on a place away from his origin. Rizal in Paris. July 17, 1883, he traveled to Paris. He visited the different spots in the city, the museums, opera house, Cathedral of Notre Dame, Bois de Boulogne, Madeleine Church, the Column of Vendôme, the Invalides, and libraries. And Rizal came back to Madrid because he can't afford the high cost of living in Paris. Rizal joined the Masonry. In Madrid, Rizal was able to meet different personalities with liberal ideas like Miguel Moraita and Francisco Margal and other people who were brave to openly criticize the government and friars during that time. All these people were part of the Masonic Lodge, so Rizal also joined the Masonry, hoping he could utilize the Freemasonry as his shield against the friars who, according to him, were the hindrance for the development and the reform of the society in the Philippines. And he received his diploma as a Master of Mason on February 15, 1884. The toast for Luna and Hidalgo. June 25, 1884, the Filipino in Madrid had a gathering to celebrate Juan Luna's success because his painting Ispolarium gained gold medal and Feliz Resurrection Hidalgo's Christian Virgin exposed to populace received a silver medal at a prestigious painting competition in Madrid. And Jose Rizal, who was not able to take his meal for the whole day, was requested to deliver an impromptu speech that would be a salute for the two Filipino. The academic record of Rizal in Universidad Central de Madrid. Jose Rizal was able to do his responsibilities as a student in Madrid. During his vacant time, he didn't waste time, but he consumed his free time in going to library, attended different seminars and lectures, and went to various feasts. June 21, 1884, Rizal completed his medical studies and attained the title of licentiate in medical. In 1884, after earning his licentiate in medicine, Jose Rizal continued his studies for doctor in medicine. However, because of financial difficulties, he was not able to present his thesis and get the title of doctors in medicine.
Rizal assimilation and the propaganda movement. The Filipino Ilustrado in Madrid between the year 1880 to 1885 had a secret mission to inform the Spanish government about the true condition of the Philippines under their colonial government. This is due of their assumption that the administration of Spain is not aware about the abusive policies of the assigned Spanish officers in the Philippines. Equipped with high education, their literacy talents, the Filipino Ilustrado contributed articles to their newspaper, the La Solidaridad. The purpose of this is to enlighten the minds of the Spaniards and other Filipinos about the real condition of the country. The triumvirates of the organization were Marcelo H. del Pilar, Graciano Lopez Jaina, and Dr. Jose Rizal. Among the contributors of the said newspaper, it was Jose Rizal who was the most diligent in writing and brave to defend the Filipino. Public education did not arrive in the Philippines until the 1860s, and even then, the Roman Catholic Church controlled the curriculum because the Spanish friars made comparatively little effort to inculcate a knowledge of Castilian. Less than one-fifth of those who went to school could read and write Spanish, and far fewer could speak it. The Filipino populace was thus kept apart from the colonial power that had been ruling it for more than 3 centuries. After the construction of the Suez Canal in 1869, sons of the wealthy were sent to Spain and other countries for study. At home and abroad, a growing sense of Filipino identity had begun to manifest. And in 1872, this burgeoning nationalism spawned an insurrection. About 200 Filipino soldiers at the Cavite Arsenal revolted, killed their officers, and shouted for independence. Plans for similar demonstration failed in Manila. The rebellion was quickly suppressed and led to wholesale arrests, life imprisonment, and the execution of, among others, 3 Filipino priests or the Gomburza, whose connection with the uprising was not satisfactorily explained. The La Solidaridad is the official organ or magazine of the propaganda movement in which Graciano Lopez Jaina served as the first editor. The first issue was published in Barcelona on February 15, 1888. Throughout its course, La Solidaridad urged reforms in both religion and government in the Philippines, and it served as the voice of what became known as the propaganda movement. One of the foremost contributors to La Solidaridad was the precocious Jose Rizal y Mercado. Rizal wrote 2 political novels, The Noli Me Tangere, or in English translation, Touch Me Not, in the year 1887, and El Filibusterismo, or The Reign of Greed, in 1891, which had a wide impact in the Philippines. Lopez Jaina, Rizal, and journalist Marcelo del Pilar, as the 3 leading figures of the propaganda movement, and magazines, poetry, and pamphleteering flourished. In 1892, Jose Rizal founded the La Liga Filipina, or the Unus Instar Omnium, or in English translation, One Like All. It is a modest reform society that was loyal to Spain and breathed no word of independence. As with the Cavite Mutiny, the Spanish authorities overreacted and perceived threat to their rule. They promptly arrested and exiled Rizal to a remote island in the south.
The arrest of Jose Rizal. On July 7, 1892, General Eulogio Despujol ordered Rizal's arrest and imprisonment at Fort Santiago. On July 15, 1892, he was put into exile in Dapitan. This marked the fall of La Liga Filipina. Meanwhile, within the Philippines, there had developed a firm commitment to independence among the somewhat less privileged class. Shocked by the arrest of Rizal, these activists formed the Katipunan under the leadership of Andres Bonifacio, a self-educated warehouseman. The Katipunan was dedicated to the expulsion of the Spanish for the islands, and the preparations were made for armed revolt. On August 26, 1896, Bonifacio issued the Grito de Balintawak, the Cry of Balintawak, calling for an armed uprising against the Spanish. The center of the revolt was in Cavite province where Filipino independence leader Emilio Aguinaldo first came into prominence. Spain sent reinforcement until there was an army of 28,000 along with a few loyal regiments of Filipino soldiers. A stiff campaign of 52 days brought about the defeat of the insurgents, but the Spanish once again endeavors to work against their own interests. Although Rizal had no connection to the uprising or Katipunan, the Spanish military arrested him and offered a partial trial, found him guilty of sedition. He was executed by a firing squad in Manila on December 30, 1896. The execution of Rizal breathed new life into the insurrection, and the Philippine Revolution spread to the provinces of Pangasinan, Zambales, and Ilocos. With the destruction of the U.S. battleship Maine on February 15, 1898, in the harbor of Havana, Cuba, and the subsequent wave of public indignation, hostilities erupted between Spain and the U.S. Exiled Aguinaldo returned to the Philippines on May 19 and announced renewal of the struggle with Spain. The Philippines declared independence from Spain on June 12 and proclaimed a provisional republic with Aguinaldo as president.